and welcome to another Comics Burst from the Full Force podcast, sponsored by Distant Planet Comics and Collectibles, where we take an in-depth look at the newest G.I. Joe comics and related titles of the week, with me as your host, Chris, Silent but Deadly McLeod, aka Diagnostic 80. Joining me on this episode is Paddy, Violent but Lovely Lennon, and Brian, just feckin' deadly Hickey. On this instalment of your absolutely favourite kind of burst, we have even more catching up to do with the two latest issues of Silent Option. So without further ado, let's get stuck into this comics burst. G.I. Joe Silent Option number 2. Bomb Strike leads her covert team of Joe special operators in a desperate search and rescue mission to save the enigmatic Agent Helix in the second chapter of living legend Larry Hama and superstar artist Nitho Diaz's latest bombastic team-up. Plus, Ryan Ferrier and Kenneth Lowe dive deeper into Helix's origin in codename Helix Part 2. So, Brian, thanks for jumping on again, bud. Good to hear from you, finally. It's been a while.
It is great to be back. Great to be back.
I'm glad. What did you think of issue 2?
I am absolutely loving Silent Option. And I know the last time we spoke about issue number 1, I was like all over it, thought it was amazing. Issue 2 just continues to absolutely rock. Loving this. So we have our Joe team again on the trail of Helix, and just about to board this oil rig, I think in the North Sea, and that opening panel,
beautiful.
Nitho Diaz's art is just to die for.
That is a throwback to like some of the Action Force comic style like openings where you've got like the water based stuff at night. There's this one with I think like Barbecue and Airtight are kind of boarding a boat at the beginning of one of the issues, and it just reminds me of that. Like it's a real like I don't know, just I love the composition of that page.
There's a real nostalgia buzz, but the detail. I love the detail that this guy packs into his art. Got all that detail in the water in the foreground. Yeah. Then you've got your 5 team members on the raft. You know, again, it gets still in the foreground, and behind them, you've got this uber detailed oil rig, and the colouring on this is superb as well.
Absolutely, Paddy. What are your thoughts then, bud? Just overall in general for this issue 2.
Yeah, I really liked this issue, even though it didn't involve as many involuntary circumcisions as issue 1 did.
He'll get your gloves, he'll get your socks, he'll drag... No, I'm just kidding, carry on.
That's why I was reading this thing, was to have lads with their balls sliced off. I was enjoying that a lot in issue 1. I can't say nice enough things about the art. It looks fantastic. The colouring as well really looks great all throughout the issue. You know, I like the fact that it is basically one long action sequence of the infiltration of the oil rig. It's really nicely paced, really well put together. The only negative is, and sorry Larry, but a lot of the dialogue in it is like really on the nose. Like above us it's red ninjas with night vision goggles, and you're like, okay lads, look, we can see that. Yeah, we know they're red ninjas, but it's something it's very noticeable in the other issue. But there's a little bit of, if you don't need to have the dialogue there, don't have it there. Like we can see that there's red ninjas in front of them, that way. There's a little bit and it's something Larry does a lot. There's a sequence where essentially Alpine is narrating video footage of Helix completely tearing the place apart, and he's like narrating it in the most irritating way ever. Like, oh no, wait, those are red ninjas. Yeah, we can see them. This girl is unstoppable. Yeah, we see her taking a guy's head off with a katana. Yeah, that sequence would probably work better without any caption boxes.
Yeah, maybe
Does that
even
make sense?
Yeah, no, maybe even if it's just like rather than dialogue that they're talking, just like the more natural dialogue for one. But if you're just having like an overall basic small top left-hand corner narration, that's just kind of, and then we saw what she was capable of, and so on and so forth, rather than, I know exactly what you mean, and I feel the same, especially about the description of what they're saying in the middle of a battle, which you kind of think that would never happen. You'd just be like calling out orders, you'd be barking, shouting, all sorts of nonsensical stuff as well. Like I definitely think that that would be a good way to kind of go with it. But no, I must admit the art in this, oh my god, like I've loved Silent Option Issue 1 was spectacular. This one continues that for me. I love that we're getting a group of new characters to kind of delve into. I say new characters, but not often seen all the time characters. And that for me is one massive, massive bonus about Silent Option. And also, actually, I've got to give it to him, and we'll talk. Brian and I will talk about this on the next episode. But with A Real American Hero, that he delves into the character lot so much more often, and it's great. But anyway, yeah, can't say enough good things about this. And it ends on a massive cliffhanger as well, with Helix being dropped out of a helicopter with explosives on her. And it's like one of those kind of, how the hell is she going to get out of this situation? And we'll find out in the next issue review, obviously.
That illustration near the end of before Helix is thrown out of a helicopter, we see Isla Bachmann, properly in the story, just looks badass. She looks like so feckin' badass.
Yeah.
And honourable shout out to Vinicius Townsend, the colourist on this series, which is his colour work is beautiful.
Mm-hmm. I know I sounded negative there a second ago, but the art team are really bringing it on this.
It's a very beautiful looking thing, yeah.
To the extent where I think Larry could have, held off on the accelerator a little bit and not have everybody describe everything they were doing.
Totally agree.
Yeah. He could have let the art team, trusted the art team a little bit more, and cut out some of the dialogue and so on. Because the guys, the colorist and the Neto Diaz, are a really good storytelling team. Like you could remove 90% of the dialogue for this issue and get an idea of what's going on.
Yeah, it'd be like the new Silent issue. Yeah,
it could really be almost a new Silent issue.
Yeah, big time.
If you took all that dialogue out, because it's an action-focused issue and it flows really well from panel to panel, you can see what's going on in the fights. It could have been. It's probably a little bit too overwritten.
Yeah, totally agree with you. Yeah.
If he trusted the art team a little bit more, this would have ended up getting an extra potato from me.
Yeah. So moving on to that last story at the back, Brian, what are your thoughts on the continuation of the origin of Helix?
I absolutely love this little bolt-on origin story, and as much as I raved about Neto Diaz's art, I prefer Kenneth Lowe's style. I love that. It's rough, it's loose, but it's still really dynamic.
It reminds me of something you'd see in like 2000 AD as like a side issue or a side story.
Yeah, it definitely very reminiscent of that kind of golden era in the British comic scene. I think this is a superb little story. I think where we finished, in the first issue, Snake Eyes was just about to open the door, and the bad guy's like, "No, don't go in there. She's crazy." He opens it up. Helix has got his back to him. She's tied to a chair, and as soon as he releases her, she immediately attacks him and floors Snake Eyes, which is pretty
impressive.
Amazing. Yeah, that anybody does that, but then immediately as the bad guys try to take advantage and kill them both, Snake Eyes protects Helix and immediately earns her trust.
Yeah.
While it happens very quickly, I find it very easy to buy into that. She's come across the first person probably in her entire existence that she can actually really, really trust. And the two of them just go on an all action-packed killing spree.
Yeah. I love that she's mimicking his movements.
4 pages.
Like, I love that she's kind of like got that ability to kind of see what he can do and then almost kind of copy it and mimic it almost immediately. I think that was quite a nice touch as well.
Yeah, it's absolutely beautiful, and how they both end up in almost like this kind of mirror kung fu pose right at the end, and to be continued. It's small, it's quick, it's simple, and it's absolutely beautiful. I love that story.
Are you enjoying this one as well, Paddy?
Yeah, I echo everything Brian has said. It's very enjoyable little vignette.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah.
Or a vignette.
Guess the writer here in the group.
Yeah. Sorry about that. So I'm enjoying it a lot. It's perfectly fine, and to be honest, it makes for a nice package. For this series, it does.
Sorry.
It makes packages.
Nice package.
It gives this a nice, like an event feel. Like it feels like a real proper mini series.
Yes. Because
there's the two different stories. I hope when this gets traded, I hope they actually edit it so that big time. That story is put together as one thing at the end. They do the 4 issues of Silent Option and then do the backup strip.
I mean, that's pretty standard fare, isn't it?
You would hope so, but who knows? Sometimes in the production process they forget it. I'd hate it if they just put 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you have 4 pages of this and then 16 pages of the other. So I hope they take it out and put it towards the end of the trade paperback as a separate story, because it'll work perfectly fine. I'd say I think it kind of gets a little bit overlooked when the monthly issues come out. I think it gets a little bit overlooked, the backup strip.
Oh yeah, big time.
Nobody seems to be talking about it, and I think if it's put together as one storyline, one story, people might take to it a little bit better.
I agree, actually. Yeah, that's a really good point, Paddy. I think you're right. I think hardly the only people I ever talk about the backup strip with are you two. And even then, that's only the one time. That's only the one time that's ever happened before today. So, and no one, I just haven't seen it really talked about, and that's definitely something that needs highlighting. And I think we're doing it now.
There are only 3 people reading the comic anyway, so.
Anywho, let's give 3. Let's give issue 3 its potating. Brian, I'll start with you. What are you going to give it, mate? Sorry, issue 2. Sorry, issue 2. Issue 2. I apologise. I'm already looking at issue 3. Go for issue 2.
The full sack of potatoes here. 5 potatoes. It's just it
is a good one.
This is the series that just keeps on rocking, and loving it. Even though it was only 2 issues in, loving it.
The Justin Bell scoreline there from Brian Hickey. What about yourself, Paddy?
I'm not going to give it 5 for what we said earlier on. I am going to give it a 4, and it would have been a 5
with the dialogue.
Had those couple of things been sorted. Like even in the editing stage, the editor should have just gone and said, "We don't need this," and just told her letter and not to bother their. And this would have been a better comic. It would have been a 5.
Yeah, it would have been a perfect comic. You're right.
It would have been a perfect comic, or certainly a perfect G.I. Joe comic.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say it's a 4, but it could have been a 5 with a little bit of editorial work. It could have been a 5.
I'm going to agree with Paddy on this one. Actually, no, I'll tell you what. I'll just go straight down the middle and go 4.5, because I'm more generous than Paddy, but nowhere near as nice, kind, lovely, and generous as Brian. So,
well, nobody is. Sure.
I know.
He was nearly elected Pope last time.
He's the human equivalent of candy floss. But anyway, or what do the Americans call it? Cotton candy. Weirdos. No, I'm just kidding. But anyway, that's issue 2.
Had there been another circumcision in this, I would have given it 5.5.
You'd have given it a 7. More definitely more needed. Anyway.
On the floor.
Silent Option Part 3. G.I. Joe Silent Option Issue 3. Silent Option Part 3. I said that about 8 times now. Bomb strikes team of covert G.I. Joe special operators, including fan favourite Ninja and Snake Eyes possessed Dawn Moreno, battle to retrieve the mysterious Agent Helix, who has taken her war against human traffickers to all new deadly heights. The bullets blaze and the katanas raise in this penultimate chapter of living legend Larry Hama and superstar artist Nito Diaz's latest explosive team-up. Plus, Ryan Ferrier and Kenneth Lowe reveal more of Helix's amazing origin tale in Codename Helix Part 3. Now, I just want to say before I ask you guys the questions, but on this particular description on IDW, I think they've kind of got it wrong here, because in this particular issue, if this is all about the post-battle, this is all about the kind of the flashbacks.
This is a real
chill
foot off the accelerator.
Yeah,
this is a chill out.
Yeah. There's no katanas flying and stuff like that. So in this one, you definitely there's a slow build with it. But still, what I think they've done really well is the inclusion of a few more Joe characters, like sneaky ones just tucked in here and there to kind of almost give us a little bit more. But Paddy, obviously, you were chiming in there. So what were your kind of overall thoughts of this particular issue?
Again, no Mickey's sliced off, so that's an immediate one potato off it. The same thing that I complained about for issue 2 is so blatantly obvious on page 1 of this issue, right?
Yes.
Helicopter onto top of the oil rig. And now I'm going to do this dialogue in the different voices of the different characters who are saying it. Ilsa Backman shoved Helix out of the transport helo. She's going to hit the edge of the oil rig. They strapped her into an explosive vest. 20 sticks of TNT at least. What's she doing? Some sort of contortionist thing? That is one panel where every member of the team who can speak actually speaks and narrates what's going on.
Yeah.
You don't need it.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. That would have just been better with just no. That was nothing. You didn't need anything.
With nothing, just showed her shocked expressions that she's being pushed out of a helicopter with clearly visible sticks of TNT strapped to her chest.
Maybe the slightest they could have added was the fact that she was going to hit the oil rig, and that would have at least given you like, okay, that's why Torpedo's going to.
Obvious. That's obvious from the art.
Yeah.
Like you can see it right directly underneath her.
Yeah.
You can see she has TNT strapped to her chest. And then on the next page, page 2, you see her do the contortionist thing with no dialogue.
Yeah.
Like those first 3 pages didn't need dialogue. Again, now I know this page 2 doesn't have any, but then page 3 you have the same. And again, you don't need it. The action is telling the story. We can see what they're doing. And if they'd pulled it off and just left that first 4 pages as completely silent, it would have been fine. It would have been actually better, I think.
I have to agree with that. I totally do. I did find it actually really off-putting at first when I opened the page and saw that and read it, and I thought it just felt really unnatural. Like not even like because he's just he's using a technique to obviously explain to the reader so they don't have to do any thinking, whatever. But I still think I looked at that and I was really kind of like, oh god, that really didn't need it. And that's what I'd even made a note of that particular part. I hadn't really noticed it so much in the previous issue, so it was actually quite a good thing you pointed that out. But I was really surprised at why that kind of made it in there. What about you, Brian? What do you think about that?
Just to kind of weigh in there, right? Looking very closely at the lettering, they've highlighted, the letterer has highlighted some of the key words in each of those speech bubbles. So you have Isla Baxman shoved Helix out of the transport helo. She's going to hit the edge of the oil rig. They've strapped her into a explosive vest.
And TNT.
26 of TNT, at least.
Contortionist thing. Well, I'm impressed. She's still going to hit the torpedo. What the? It's like it's like random as well, isn't it?
Team effort. Team effort here. Team effort. It's
but it doesn't. It's like it's just one of those things where like you don't need it, lads. Pull it out, please.
Well, what I will say in defence of all of the say dialogue that's here, this reminds me of the British weekly comics. I'm reading a lot of Battle Action Force lately, and the way the first panel is written in every episode. So you've got like a series that's running for maybe 10 weeks, and the first panel always has like a catch up. There's some sort. It's probably just a panel that just kind of brings you up to speed on where things are at, and then that's kind of reinforced with the speech bubbles in that opening panel. And that's what's happening here. If you just came in and bought issue 3 for the first, and you'd missed episodes or issues 1 and 2, and you started to read this panel, it just quickly brings you up to speed on what you've missed.
But it also doesn't tell you anything you can't see from the art. And Battle Action Force was aimed at us when we're 8 years old and stupid. This is aimed at us when we're 38 years old and not stupid.
Oh no, I just keep the stupid part.
Keep that, yeah. Well, I can't disagree with you, Paddy.
An experienced comic reader knows what's happening here, and not even an inexperienced comic reader. You could take the dialogue. We could edit I could get my wife to take the lettering out of this, and you'd be able to tell what's going on in the story. And it's the same again. It is just a lack of trust in the art team, and just in the art team. Like if you're hiring a guy like Diaz who really gets storytelling, really gets facial expressions and so on, you don't need to overthink these things,
No, fair enough. Good point, I think.
Just to say, but where we have, on pages 2 and half of page 3, where there are no speech bubbles, the art is superb.
It's the best sequence in the book.
That half-page panel where the helicopter or the TNT explodes and you see Helix falling out of the panel coming straight at you.
Brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
It's genius. And in
her
fairness,
expression, her facial expression is perfect as well, isn't it? Kind of one eye, mouth open, yeah.
And then I love that Torpedo is totally drop-jawed and going, well, I'm impressed, because I was impressed when I looked at those images.
Well, I'm impressed!
She's still going to hit the rig. No, it really is good. Okay, so getting past that first element of the story, we do get to see the USS Flag, which is nice. We get to see a few vehicles on the deck as well, which you can kind of...
the only flag you're going to get, Joe fans, on a comics page.
That's very true. And we do get the introduction of a few more characters. Obviously, Admiral Keelhaul, Mainframe pops in it, and so does Psych Out. I like that they're involved in some way, shape, or form. We get flashback to her and her mother, and how she kind of was kind of raised a little bit, and her mom seems to be a bit of a bad too.
I'm liking this, yeah.
There's a lot to be said about when a series, or in this case, like a little mini, when they have an issue that's like on a more chilled out vibe. It doesn't mean it's not going to be as entertaining or interesting or not as good as something that's action packed. In actual fact, I really was drawn in to this issue, even though there wasn't the being cut off left, right, and centre, and so on and so forth, Mickey castration. But there's some really nice parts in it. Like, obviously, the fact that, her mom telling her a little bit of backstory, the kind of almost like the attempt from Dawn to try and kind of, break Helix down a little bit to kind of like befriend her a little bit, and she's just not having any of it. There's the kind of like introduction of these other characters that are now, they're kind of ramping up for the next mission. And then there's, not just that, but obviously this whole situation where, is it Ilsa or Isla? I'm going to say Isla. Isla Backman, she's kind of like put out this almost like fake out for the Joes. They go to this plane that's landed in this airport thinking there's going to be trafficked kids all on it or whatever, and it turns out that it's a trap. And in actual fact, it's diverted then to the reveal at the end, which I thought was so brilliant. And I wasn't really expecting it as such, but when you see it, it's kind of like, oh yeah, well, okay, that makes a lot of sense. Like it's not necessarily something I foresaw was going to happen. But then when you turn that last page and it's one page and it's boom, everything you need is on there, and you've got Firefly, the Red Ninjas, and Isla Backman, and they're at Helix's parents' house, and you're like, oh shit. So I thought that was really, really cool.
I have a counterpoint to this, in that it is the stupidest piece of writing Larry has done in 35 years.
Buddy.
So they hand a data stick to Mainframe, and Mainframe says, this is all really heavily encrypted, except for this bit that says there's a shipment of kids going to New Jersey that's not encrypted at all. You should all definitely rush off to New Jersey without planning and see what's happening.
Yeah.
Of course it's a trap. These guys are supposed to be like a secret special operations team, and these four guys are supposed to be like the secret special operations team that are like better, that has two snake eyes. And they fall for this thing?
I would actually say that the worst bit of dialogue is at the end when Firefly says this is the house where Helix parents live. I will lead the Red Ninja penetration team and secure the hostages. Isla will guard the perimeter with her people. He doesn't need to say
guard the perimeter.
He doesn't need to say any of that. All that needs to be on there is Isla saying, I want her parents alive, Firefly. I have plans for them. That's all that needs to be said on that page. Agree or disagree?
Yes, agree. 100%.
I agree, and I agree with Paddy as well on the whole, Mainframe cracking the the data stick. I mean, even as I was reading that, I was like, well, that's a trap. I didn't even need to get to the 3 pages in to find that it was a trap.
What Pulver should really do, right, is take over a Hooters franchise and put a sign up that says, G.I. Joe members get free chicken wings. And then when everybody turns up asking for free chicken wings, they should just shoot them in the head. Because apparently that would work.
That sounds like a Robot Chicken episode, basically, of a G.I. Joe thing. Oh, so, I mean, again, even with those points, I still enjoy this series, and I enjoy going through it. And I think, I mean, if I think the art has a lot to do with that too. I think the art is so gorgeous, and I just love and enjoy every single panel that that I turn to. I
do have a couple of questions. Maybe you guys will be able to answer these questions. But we meet Helix's mum in this episode, and she's, as we mentioned, she's kind of a bit of a bad kind of kung fu expert. Is that the same mum we meet in issue
First
1?
Issue. Yes.
Is the step parents?
Yeah, the stepmom mentions in issue 1 that she's a former MMA fighter.
Okay, so that's
the dad
cool.
mentions he's a former Marine.
So it means Firefly and Isla Backman are going to have some formidable competition when they try to raid that house. in episode 4.
That's true. I hadn't even thought about that, honestly. I thought they were just, the next thing we'll see is them kind of tied up to a chair or something. But that's cool. I bet they do explore that.
My last question is, where the hell did Firefly come from? Because the last time we saw him was at the end of the Dawn of the Arashikage series, and he was facing off against Zartan.
He's in issue 3 for one panel, where Alpine Hepfie narrates and says, "Oh my God, is that Firefly in the video footage?"
Oh yeah, he was, wasn't he? In issue 2. Yeah, he was, wasn't he?
Oh God, how the hell did I miss that?
Yeah,
Maybe I didn't miss it, but I just forgot it.
Yeah, him and the Red Ninjas, yeah. It's like a really good panel with Helix like at the top kind of shooting at them, and them all shooting back, and Isla Backman in the background pointing. And that's Firefly. You should have known. You were told.
And it's highlighted in red, yeah.
So what about that final story then?
Dear.
Oh, did you have another question, Brian?
No, I think that's all my questions answered, and thank you guys, thank you. Looking at the pace slows down here. It's not all action. We have our Snake Eyes has rescued Helix. He's hooked back up with Duke. It looks like that Helix is going to get some medical attention. Duke is obviously taking a major interest.
Are the kids all getting on a mobile command center? Is that what that is? Because it looks like the mobile command center.
Are you sure you just don't have it on your brain?
Oh, I do have it on my brain. But I don't know. It just looks like.
No, I think it's a transport plane. No.
Oh, okay.
I think it's the mobile pit from Rise of Cobra.
Actually, yes, it could be. It could be that as well.
It could be, couldn't it? Yeah. Okay, carry on.
Yeah. No, because it's seriously the back.
No, sorry, it's a VTOL. If you go onto the next page, you see it's actually a GI Joe VTOL.
Yeah, that's upsetting, isn't it?
Oh dear.
So it's like some sort of funky Ghost Hawk 7 or something.
God, I was really hoping it was a mobile command center, because that would have been so much more pointless driving that back to wherever they had to go.
Yeah, it would take like 60 years to get to wherever they need to go.
I've always wondered how fast a mobile command center could actually go. I'm sure there are specs somewhere in the instructions. I'm gonna put that out to the listeners. How fast can a mobile command center go in reality?
Can we answer this on the next full episode of the Full Force, and we can all make up funny answers for it?
Yes.
Okay.
We'll do it as part of the mail call.
3. It's got the world land speed record.
Because most tanks struggle to do about 40k an hour.
Yeah, imagine a mobile command. I mean, that would just be a slow mover, wouldn't it? That would be like a week it would take to do like a yard.
We were going to recover all these refugees from the human traffickers, but they all starved in the mobile command centre as we drove them back to the pit. They ran out of food halfway across Nevada.
They couldn't all fit in the one cell that we've got in the mobile command centre.
But looking at our Helix here, Duke is having a cup of coffee and he hears some ruckus in the background, and then it cuts to inside the medical examination room, and there's a lot of medical staff laid out on the floor, and the doctor is kind of cowering. The doctor's cowering under. Helix looks like a feral animal about to kind of lash into the doctor, and they've got security guards, guns pointed, ordering her to stand down. But of course, the doctor's like, she feels threatened. The doctor's on her side despite the imminent danger that she's in. And we see Helix charge. Not sure exactly who she's charging at. And to be continued.
Yeah, that could, or to be concluded in actual fact. But I think we're going to see, obviously, like I reckon Snake Eyes will probably jump in here and save the day. But I can see, you don't really know if she's jumping at the doctor, but it looks more likely that she's turned and she's jumping at the guys with the guns on her. Which, I mean, we could probably even see her take those guys out and then Snake Eyes come in and sort it out. But like, I'm totally intrigued, man. I want issue 4. I want to know what's going on.
Where we have some of the panels with Snake Eyes and Helix together, immediately after, she's rescued Helix, she looks very vulnerable. She looks, he's drawn her that she looks attractive. When you see her not in Snake Eyes' company, she either looks like a wild animal or you don't see her face at all. And I wonder if that was something deliberate that Kenneth Lowe, worked into the art to show this sort of connection between the two characters.
Oh, totally.
He's a calming influence on her.
It's and again, Kenneth Lowe's artwork, a massive fan. Love what I'm seeing here, and it's superb.
Agreed. Okay, so let's do our potatings. Paddy, what do you give Silent Option issue 3?
I'm going to give this a 3.5.
And that's not a bad score, really.
It would have been better if they'd fixed those issues. Again, it would have been a 5 had they fixed those couple of issues we pointed out, and had there been a couple of castrations.
You should write into Larry. He does moan that he doesn't get enough letters in the in the comics now. So send him a letter saying, I want more Mickeys, and draw a picture of a Mickey getting cut in half.
But it has to be Helix doing it. Like it holds a certain cachet when it is my favorite female Joe character. He mix. It has a certain cachet when it's my favorite female Joel character. Slicing fellas nuts off.
Helickies.
That's basically what that character was created to do. I know she was originally in that G.I. Joe Rise of Cobra video game, but she was created to be there to cut off Mickeys.
I'm pretty sure she cut some knobs off in that game as well. Brian, what about yourself, mate?
Well, you know what? You've got Neto Diaz killing it once again on the art. It's incredible. In fact, the entire art team, Neto Diaz gets all the credit, but I mean, there's a whole team of people in there. Vinicius Townsend, don't know if I'm saying his name right or not, but I mean, the colouring work is superb. Kenneth Lowe's artwork, the bolt-on kind of origin story, it's all beautiful. I don't mind that they've slowed the pace down because it gives you a chance to kind of delve deeper into the characters. Yeah. I'm a bit more forgiving on the over the use of the speech bubbles and the dialogue.
The over egging of the pudding, as my grandmother would have called it.
And now that you guys have kind of answered my questions, I'm still ready to go 5 spuds again for this. And really,
I had real problems with this issue, but it's still a 5-star. It's still a 5 potatoes.
Oh, I can't wait for the Real American Hero we're going to do next. Although, actually, there's some beauties in there. But anyway, okay. Well, I'm going to go with 3.5, mainly because I do agree with what Paddy's saying in quite a lot of those aspects. And I must admit, when I opened that page and I saw that panel, I was like, oh, that's not necessary. And I'd already wanted to turn the page. I already was like, why am I reading this when I know exactly what's going on? So I must admit that did kind of put my nose out a little bit. I wasn't too fussed about the mainframe thing because I know that in writing, I know it's a bit lazy, but I would still say that you need to get them to that place. You need to trick them to do it. I think if they'd have said something like, I've managed to decrypt the file, this is what it says, then that would have been fine. But the fact that he added that extra bit, like it's really decrypted, but there's this one bit, that was the bit that was probably not necessary and would have made that a little bit better. But at the same token, I think that was Larry kind of saying to the readers, I'm letting you in on, that this is a trap and the actual characters don't. It's almost that kind of, that feeling for the reader. But I agree.
They are the special operators of G.I. Joe Special Forces team. There are 2 Snake Eyes on the team. Yeah. There is Mainframe, who is in this continuity. Let's not remember, has an issue where he's like, oh, he's not just a smart guy, he's a soldier too. There's an actual ARAH issue saying this. Back in the 80s.
I agree with you. I think that definitely needs to be addressed, absolutely. But again, I can kind of forgive it to a degree. Like I know what he was getting at, but I didn't need to see it.
And as you said, the greatest tragedy of this issue is no sliced Mickeys.
Exactly. Which is going to be your nickname on the next episode.
We're going to crowdfund. I'm going to get a commission from Neto Diaz, and it's going to be Helix slicing some lad's Mickey off.
It sounds so 90s. That's going to sell like crazy.
I'm going to contact him on Twitter once this episode goes up, and we'll send him a link to this episode, and I'm going to suggest that he does this as a commission, and I will pay him for it.
You heard it here first, folks. Paddy's going to get a professional artist to draw Helix cutting a off. Anyway, that's it for this instalment of the Full Force Comics Burst. Thank you to my awesome co-hosts Paddy Lennon and Brian Hickey. See you next time, and as always, cut some off. Full Force.
Oh, Jesus. Best Comics Burst ever.
Make sure you get involved with the discussion by liking, sharing and commenting on these videos, and as always you can keep up with the show after listening by following on Twitter @TheFullForce, liking the Facebook page facebook.com/TheFullForce, and if you would like to contact the show you can message us on either of those platforms with feedback, questions or just a troll. Look out for more of these comic bursts on Podbean, iTunes, Stitcher, our Facebook page, Twitter feed and YouTube channel from now on. Full Force. And a big shout out to our sponsors, Distant Planet Comics and Collectibles, located at 601 Business Loop 70 West Suite 263, located in the Parkade Center, Columbia, Missouri. You can visit their website at distantplanetcomics.com and on Facebook at facebook.com/distantplanetcomics.